I just cannot stay quiet about it anymore. You know what I can't take? You know what I can't take? Extremely dull kitchen knives. Every time that I see someone cutting with an extra dull knife, the Curb Your Enthusiasm meme starts playing in my head. Why have your knife like that when it could be relatively easy to make it like this? I get it. Not everyone's gonna want to take the time to sharpen their knives with a whetstone. 99% sure that the majority of you watching this right now probably don't want to do it and never will, and that's okay, and I'm not judging you for it, and that says a lot. I just want to plant the knife sharpening seed, and just maybe. Now let me just briefly explain. Going and buying a brand new chef knife just because your knife is so dull that it has rendered it completely useless that's a bad thing. In addition to having a progressively more useless tool, having a dull knife is also extremely dangerous. You could run a huge risk of the knife slipping and sliding all over everything that you're cutting. So then your chicken and broccoli stir fry suddenly becomes a chicken and broccoli stir fry with an index finger, and that's a bad thing. I could go on and on about this, but at the end of the day, I just wanted to make this video because I feel like most people just don't know how to sharpen their knives properly. They don't actually know what sharpening really means. And so I hope this video is at least well received. And with all that said, let's go.
Now, the first thing that you're gonna need is a whetstone. If you don't have one already, please get this one. It's a double-sided King 1000, 6000 whetstone. You can see that there's two sides. This is the fine side, which is the 6000, and then this is the coarse side, which is the 1000. So one is for sharpening, and then the other is for polishing. It's the perfect combo. It also even comes with its own base, which is pretty awesome. Just so you guys know, I'm not sponsored by them. They don't know that I'm doing this. I just really love this stone. It is hands down the very best budget whetstone that you can buy. It's only $25 on Amazon, and if you got Prime, it's free shipping. So I mean, come on. I put a link below. Go grab it. Now, when you're ready to sharpen, take your stone and submerge it in water and let it soak for 5 to 10 minutes. That may be slightly unnecessary for this kind of stone, but I personally like to do it. Now, obviously, you're gonna need some sort of knife to sharpen, so whichever that is, you can literally use any knife. There's no special knife you have to have. I obviously appear to be a knife hoarder, which is a little bit true, but you don't have to be in order to sharpen a knife. So the only thing that I would mention is that whatever steel type you have will determine how long it takes for you to sharpen. Now, this white number 2 steel knife here sharpens very quickly, but if you have a German steel knife, which is a very common steel for most house knives, then it will take you a little longer, say 10-15 minutes. Now, I'm going to explain how to sharpen this in a very simplistic way. This could either be really confusing or just really straightforward, so I'm going to keep it straightforward. Now, you're going to take your soaked stone and we're going to start sharpening on the coarse side, which would be the 1000 side. You're more than welcome to use a different stone, but I would try to keep the coarseness similar to the one that I'm using right now. Now listen carefully, there are two main factors that determine the sharpening of your knife, okay? And that is which hand is doing what. Now, the hand that's holding the handle is going to determine what angle the knife is going to be sharpening at. Where is the angle of your edge going to be? I'm not going to confuse you with which degree it needs to be. I'm just going to use simple terminologies. And then the remaining hand that's not holding the handle is going to apply pressure to the blade so you can actually sharpen it. Now remember, when you're applying pressure, you're not applying pressure in the forward stroke. You're actually applying pressure when you're dragging the knife back towards you. Now, as for what angle you should use, the method that I personally like to use, instead of determining, oh, it's going to be 45, 50, 70, whatever, it's never that accurate. So at the end of the day, just pretend that there's 2 or 3 quarters on the spine of your knife that's holding your knife up, and use that as a guide for your angle, as if there were, for some reason, 2 coins underneath the back of your knife. Now, this is going to take some practice, so don't expect to get it absolutely perfect the first time. Now, before you sharpen, make sure that you wet the top of the stone to make sure that the stone stays wet the entirety of your sharpening. If it starts to dry out, just reapply water to the top. Now, set up your sharpening. So, get that 2 or 3 coin angle, depending on whatever feels most comfortable to you, and then apply pressure in the area where you're ready to sharpen. I would recommend that you start doing the knife in segments, so let's start with the very back of the knife. Now, while first applying very little pressure, begin the movement by pushing the knife forward, and then while applying pressure, pull back. So you're going to push forward again, and then apply pressure with your fingers and pull back. You're You're not applying pressure with the hand that's holding the handle. Remember, you're only applying pressure with the fingers that are on the blade. The hand that's on the handle only determines the angle and moves the knife back and forth. And you're going to repeat that back and forth movement process 15 total times, or more depending on how much your knife needs to be sharpened. Now you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side with the exact same angle. And do it for the same amount of strokes as you did as the first one. And you're going to continue this process until that segment of the blade feels relatively sharp, and then repeat that process along the entirety of the blade. You're only going to be doing it in segments piece by piece. It'll probably be anywhere from 3 to 4 segments of the knife. Now, once you reach the segment of the knife where it starts to curve a little bit, do not use the same exact method. It's going to be similar, but going back and forth is just not going to work. Instead, you're going to be turning your knife just a little bit while you're doing that movement through the edge of the blade. So it's essentially the same thing, but instead of pulling it straight back and forth, you're just giving it a little bit of a turn at the same time, as you can see what I'm doing here. So it's not exactly back and forth, it's more of like a sliding back and forth. And guys, I really can't emphasize enough, but the most important thing here is trying to maintain the same angle all the way through the knife. That is going to take some practice, but I promise you that is what is going to make your knife super duper sharp. Now, once you've completed sharpening the entire length of your knife on obviously both sides to make a bevel, you're going to use the fine polishing side of your stone now. We're just going to polish the edge up, and this is going to take it from sharp to razor sharp. And just do the exact same thing that you did before, maintaining that same angle as you started with. Make sure that you wet the stone first and then run along all of the same spots that you ran over before, but this time with the polishing stone. And just to reiterate, make sure that you're getting the entire length of the blade, the entire length of the edge on both sides with the same angle. And that's pretty much it. You should have a relatively sharp knife by now. Now, it's going to get better over time as you practice, but you can literally see the edge of my knife in this video. This is the dull knife, and this is the freshly sharpened knife. You might see a little bit of a difference here. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like there's I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit of a difference. That's just my personal opinion. So instead of using a honing rod like most people think you should be using, please use a whetstone.
And that is pretty much it. It's very simple, don't overcomplicate it. It's really just a matter of making angles on 2 different sides. The more simplistic you view it, the easier it's gonna be to do it. Sharpen or don't sharpen your knife. You saw the difference. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video or you learned something, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you next week.